Hey guys, welcome back to another video, non-Man City content on the channel today. It's the World Cup, as you may have noticed, in a couple of days' time. So I thought I'd get some people who've got considerable more World Cup hype than myself on the channel to talk through a few of the teams involved, and their predictions and all that kind of stuff. I've got this handsome man alongside me, Jack. How you doing, Jack?
I'm good, thank you, mate. Thank you for having me, as ever.
My pleasure, mate. And even more handsome man below him in Nubaid. How you doing? You good?
I'm
I like
very
this
glad.
trend
I'm
so
very glad you said that. But now Amir's getting the golden ball of handsomeness.
And the Ballon d'Or of handsomeness, Umir.
Thank
How
you, fella.
Guys, thank you very much for coming on. I think it's, I don't know, I feel I've spoken to you all. I don't know if you've all been on the actual channel before, but I've definitely spoke to you all in many videos in the past. And you guys, in my head, are pretty much like these kind of like dons of football knowledge, and you'll probably know who plays for Saudi Arabia. I don't. This is my honesty. So I'd like to get people on who can elevate a little bit the knowledge of some teams. And just quickly around the table, how are you feeling about the World Cup, Jack? Are you excited?
Yeah, I've got there now. I heard Ian Wright say it on Wrighty's House the other day that it felt a bit like it was wrapped in cellophane. Like you could see it, but you couldn't really touch it for so long because it's backed up so far to the club season. Obviously, there are a plethora of different issues around where the World Cup is and how it's being pushed into the season, etc., etc. So I think for a while it felt like it was just sort of at arm's length, but now we're 3 days away. I think we are fully in World Cup mode, so we're gonna get stuck into it. And yeah, I'm excited now. I'm excited.
Yeah, eventually, Nubaid, even the talk all around it. And I'm not going to go into all that, mainly just because I don't think we have the time, and I think it's a lot more the talk around the human rights and all that issues. They're more, they need a video as opposed to a throwaway mention in a half an hour World Cup preview, in my opinion. But even with all that, eventually the football does get to you, doesn't it? And like that's how I feel personally. Do you feel that way or not?
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that give it a few days, and I think everyone will be on board. Obviously not with the whole like human rights thing in Qatar. I mean, everyone's on board with the tournament before people clip that up and go, "Hey, wait a minute." I think once the football starts, everyone will be into the World Cup mode. I think it always makes a difference that when people are at work, and I feel it's very different for guys like us because I'm going to sit and watch every single game because I don't work in an office. But like when I hear from my brother who's at work 9 till 5, but he's watched like Iran against England at work with his work colleagues, that's where like I think the culture of the World Cup builds, and I think the excitement will come around.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, because I think all of us are in the same situation now. Is it the same for you and me? I mean, I'll be watching games at home basically. You're going to be watching with people as well.
Yeah, I think during the week I might be watching it with people, but sort of on the weekend I'm working to cover some of the games, so I'll either be working and doing that on my own and watching the games on my own, or I'll be with a couple of people together, which is I think is always more enjoyable when you get a little group around, and especially the World Cup. There's more excitement and I don't know, there's more fun in the games rather than just boiling them down to tactical battles. So I always prefer to watch them as a little group for those games, especially.
Yeah, definitely. Hence why I got you guys on to give me someone to talk to about it. Because currently it's a screaming 4-week-old. He doesn't really have much interest in it yet. So like, I might talk to him about it. Anyway, I'm gonna do a little transition. Hopefully this works. Over to the tables and so on. You guys can't see it, unfortunately, but basically I've just taken the Google list and it's on the screen right now. The groups. Jack, I'm going to come to you with Group A. So we'll go through these relatively quickly before we get to the predictions and so on. Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal, Netherlands. How's that shaping up for you? Do you have any spicy takes? I think you do actually for this one, don't you? But...
Yeah, I mean, I think the Netherlands are far and away the favourite to win this group. But with the Sadio Mane injury, I've got a funny feeling Qatar comes second in this group. And look, I really love this Senegal team. I really love the Senegal team. I thought they were brilliant at AFCON. And then obviously we saw that the game against Egypt to qualify. And I'm a big fan of how this team's set up and how they're structured. And the whole thing works. But I do wonder how much of an impact losing your talisman and the player I think that defenders gravitate to has on a side like this. So I'm a bit wary that Qatar suspended their league in mid-September. They have been, most players play for one of two clubs in the division. They've had a long time together. Qatar have been preparing for this World Cup. They played in the Copa America. They played in the Gold Cup. They did really well. They won the Asia Cup a couple of years ago. A lot of them have played under Xavi at Al Sadd. There's a lot about this side that you think, okay, how is this going to shape up on home soil? And I think with all of that putting together, I just think they might be in to cause a shock. And look, Ecuador are a good side as well, and they did really well in CONMEBOL qualifying. Fell away a little bit at the end, but I just have a feeling that Qatar are going to do a bit of a madness, win that opening game, and then somehow kind of get their way to second in this group. So there's my spicy take for you to off the cuff. It might not work because tournaments are mad, but I think there's real logic to the idea that Qatar might make it out of this group.
That's crazy, but I admire it. Looking at the friendlies right now, I've got them on screen for people who got the YouTube video up. Looking at the friendlies, they've obviously played a 2-2 draw against Chile, 2-0 loss to Canada, a 3-0 loss to Croatia. So it hasn't been like a smooth sailing, but then obviously the competitive games, they're a different kettle of fish, aren't they? You know, you're more up for it, and the energy, obviously, that they'll get from the fans. I mean, you don't disagree with that, Umir? Is that right? Do you think that's a good shout?
I don't know. I think just in international football, I'm really like, maybe naively, I'm just really for the storylines. So the fact that like Qatar are probably better than people assume they are, paired with the fact that it is on home soil, just makes me want to put them a little bit higher than other teams might. I'm looking at the rest of the group. I think it's probably between Senegal and Qatar for that second spot. And obviously it depends on sort of Mane's fitness. I think in a head-to-head, the only issue is Senegal might better Qatar, even though I think Qatar might be a better general side in the tournament, so that might give them the edge. I just think sort of the style that Qatar play, the possession football that they do try and implement, and especially with the home advantage of the crowd, like we might see some at least exciting football, if not upset results.
They're going to finish bottom of the group. You heard it here first.
0 points. Yeah.
0 goals.
That, yeah.
Probably not. Who knows? The second group, though, Nubaid, England, Iran, USA, Wales. That is a spicy group, isn't it? That's an emotional group. You talk about stories in football. There is narratives left, right, and centre there.
I was going to say, politically, this group is chaos. Get all the presidents in a room whilst the games are going on. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, football-wise, I don't actually look forward to this group that much. I look at Wales and I think they don't play attractive football. I look at Iran. Iran will be the worst team to watch under Carlos Queiroz because Jack may disagree, but I feel like he won't. The football they play is absolutely horrible to watch.
It's
then
effective, but horrible.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if Iran draw every game in this group and somehow go through second. That's not my take, though, but I wouldn't be surprised. And then you've got USA, who, in my opinion, when I looked long before the tournament, 6-7 months ago, I actually thought they had a good side on paper, but then it's not working with the manager. So that kind of leaves you with Southgate in England, where they might get a bit of a free ride here because the rest of the group is a bit of shambles. I have got England top. I've got USA second purely because I've read a lot from Wales fans around like Bale will still be the guy, whereas I think this is one tournament too far for Gareth Bale, which I think a lot of people probably are going to say the same thing.
Sad,
and then
it should never be one step too far for Gareth Bale. I love Gareth Bale.
I mean, he did score the 3 goals that got them here. You know,
I know,
two against Austria and then one against
Ukraine. Just
Ukraine.
needs a free kick these days.
Yeah,
I just think in the World Cup, and this is the beauty of it, right? England could easily finish bottom of this group. Like you absolutely do not know with the World Cup. Iran could turn up and win the first game 1-0, because I think because the World Cup is so condensed and games happen so quickly. I was going to say it's about Group 8, actually. Qatar play Ecuador in the first game. If Qatar beat Ecuador and then they play Senegal, you never know. Like, momentum's on your side. 4 days after you've just beaten one side, you're top of the group, and anything can happen. So the same thing could happen in this group. But I'm in England top, USA second, and I think Wales will finish bottom with Iran in third.
Jack, your rankings?
I like this Wales side a lot. I think that when you look at this team in terms of how they play, and look, this group is going to be sufferball at its finest, right? Everyone is just suffering for the whole game. I don't think I've made this take on ranks, but I don't think that anyone in the group scores more than 1 goal in any particular game. Like every game is ending 1-0, 0-0, or 1-1. That's how I have this group.
England as Wales might be a little.
Maybe you might get a 2-1 here or there, but like generally, I don't know. I've put Wales top. I think that the fact that they counter punch so hard, and I think England might just draw. They might drop points to one of the US or Iran, and I think the rest of it might be draws. And so I'm going to go Wales win the group, and then I'm going to go through England in second.
That's a big shout, Umir.
I'm going to go England top because they have Raheem Sterling.
On trend.
No, that's...
trend.
And then who else? I'll probably go.
You
I'll
got to chuck
probably go
Iran in there for the
Wales.
culture.
Just as
You
it
know
is
what?
now on the screen, England, Iran, USA, Wales. Go for that. Go for crazy.
No, I'll go Wales just because of the counter-attacking threat, and the fact that they have experience. Sort of, they've made decent like tournament runs in the past. I know that
Semis
the
wasn't
squad
it
sort of,
once? Was it semis? Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insane.
And little Keith, I was gonna say little Kiefer Moore, big Kiefer
About
Moore
to say,
up
yeah.
top. He's like that's such a tournament player right there.
Hey, listen, just quickly on big man up top, Taremi for Iran. Give
Oh
me
yeah,
big man. This group has the
that's a great
potential.
point actually.
Forget Harry Kane. Let's go with some big man for England. Put Maguire up top. Let's make this the big man up top group.
Truly insufferable.
But I'll go Wales second.
Yeah, I've gone for Wales just because I feel like they have a bit more spark, and by spark I just mean Gareth Bale, like literally purely Gareth
Yeah.
Bale. For second, England I think will probably end up. Yeah, I think they'll probably be quite comfortable in the end because I think a little bit of naivety will show with the others. Group C, this is a strong Argentina side, isn't it? Nubaid? They seem settled. A lot of people's favourites for the tournament. Messi. I've seen some suggest that maybe this is the most comfortable he's been in his skin for a long time. Actually, obviously because he's settled at PSG. I think he knows exactly what he is a little bit more now. He's not in that transition between who he was and who he's going to be now. He is that creative playmaker essentially. But he's playing in an Argentinian side, which maybe isn't quite as star-struck as maybe star-laden as it used to be, maybe like 10 years ago when it was all big names. It's a little bit. It's still got big names. Don't get me wrong, but if you know what I mean by that, it's a little bit less like glamorous than it used to be. But it's a really good side. It's really effective. How many games is it unbeaten as well? Is it like 30 odd or something like that? I swear
I think it's
something like that.
35-ish or something. Yeah.
So how are you feeling about their chances going into this debate?
Well, I watched their friendly, the latest one they played yesterday. It was 5-0, and I was like, when I've previously watched Argentina, I always feel it's disjointed.
Yeah.
I feel there's for a period there was no midfield that wanted to work for the side. Now they've got Rodrigo de Paul, who has been appalling this season, but when he comes to play for Argentina, he's an absolute.
Sorry.
Hey, he was
Good
an
call.
absolute monster. Then Di Maria at his age for Argentina just cooks, and I think all of it has slowly resulted in this sort of very nice pot that Messi kind of stirs whenever he likes. They've obviously got Lautaro Martinez, who always plays well for Argentina. His form's on an upturn at Inter. They've got Julian Alvarez, who was very good in the friendly. Don't know how much he'll play. But I just think they've got a lot of options, and this group is a really nice group. Because I think in the World Cup, if you start really quickly, you normally tail off towards the end. I think Argentina can really ease their way into this group because I don't think Saudi Arabia are a brilliant side. Although we did have Faisal on the pod a few days ago, and he was like, Saudi Arabia are going to finish second. They've got some ballers in their team. And I was like, listen, I've only watched Saudi Arabia a handful of times. Then you got Poland and Mexico. I don't think Poland have been at the races. They haven't been in great form. And then you're left with Mexico. So I think Argentina have a really nice sort of like way through this group. They don't have to go full pelt. And I've got a really big feeling. We will come to predictions, but I've got a really big feeling for something.
Okay, all right then. We'll get through this quickly. Jack, who's coming second? I presume you go for Argentina first.
Argentina top, yeah. Poland second for me. Mexico are in all sorts of trouble,
Yeah.
and now it's a bit cool to
Isn't it?
always,
He's not happy at the
yeah.
moment, is that right? Yeah.
No, but Mexico always get through the groups, and then they always lose in the round of 16, right? They have this fifth game curse that the fans talk about. But the public opinion has just turned on Tata Martino. There's nothing really going for him at the moment. And I think Mexico could be in real trouble, to be perfectly honest with you. I think Saudi Arabia are probably a better side than people are giving them credit for. But equally, I think that Poland and Argentina are the two best sides in this group by some way at the moment.
Yeah, I'll go for Poland second as well. And maybe we're going to go straight to Group D if that's all right with you, mate. What have you make of this group, and how do you think it's shaping up? Because obviously Denmark, are they a dark horse anymore, or are they just a very good side? Everyone says about Denmark. They're always labelled there, but they're obviously the cracking side. This is going back to the star-laden thing once again. Australia, you look back to 10, 15 years ago, and it was your Kuhls and Vidukas and all that. It seems like a very low-key Australia side these days, not for the Premier League players. And Tunisia, honestly, this is where my knowledge ends with Tunisia. I don't know much about them, but France, many people's favourites as well. How do you think that group's lining up, Amir?
Yeah, I think everyone's automatically going to look to France as. Well, I don't actually know because people are sort of putting them to the side a little bit, given their
Midfield,
failing
isn't
in the
it?
last tournament,
As well.
and especially with sort of the midfield issues and Pogba and Kante not being there, they were basically the pivot that all of their success has been built on previously, and the fact that Paul Pogba could launch these quick attacks for the likes of Kylian Mbappe and Kante would sweep up in and around. Like that was such a good balanced midfield. I think their midfield is the main issue at the moment, and I wonder how Deschamps is going to set up, because he's publicly admitted that the five at the back system that they've tried sort of in the qualifiers is one that he's moving away from, and he doesn't really want to go with it. So I'm wondering what three in midfield they do pick, and obviously they have Tchouaméni and Camavinga. I wonder who joins them. Maybe Rabiot joins them in there, but that's significantly weaker than, although he's been in good form, that's significantly weaker than the Pogba and Kante pivot that they had. For that reason, I wouldn't be massively surprised if Denmark topped the group. Denmark, and like you said, I don't think Denmark are dark horses, just given for the fact how much people are putting them as their dark horse, if that makes sense. And
just for context, they did beat France in the Nations League, didn't they, in the 25th of September?
Yeah.
I've got
Yeah.
the lineup on screen right now as well for those who want to get on YouTube. Obviously, that back line of Anderson and Christensen, that's a cracking centre-half pair, isn't it? And then the experience of Eriksen, Delaney, and Højbjerg. It's just they're a solid team, aren't they, Jack? You know, they're loads of experience. Go on, Umir. So, what are you saying, mate?
so I was just going to say that Mailer at fullback or wingback is really good. And he was in the previous tournament. And their midfield three, is it Eriksen, Højbjerg, and
Delaney.
yeah, Delaney. I mean, and those three are just excellent. And I don't like Damsgaard's been out of form or not really been played. I don't know what his role is going to be, but I remember he had a great tournament as well. So just there's a really good balance, but more impressively than all of that, they're tactically really impressive. They have a good balance, a good shape. And if France don't click, and if France can't get the balance right with Benzema playing ahead of Giroud, for example, who I'm a massive fan of, then yeah, I wouldn't be surprised seeing Denmark first, France second.
Yeah, I agree.
How do you go on, Jack? Can you say?
Well, I just think Denmark tactically are so flexible. Like they can move from that kind of five at the back to a four. Well, they'll start, I think, with the four at the back of this tournament. But I think they can move that five at kind of will, and it frees up Mailer to just sort of rampage down that left-hand side. He scored 5 goals from left back in qualifying. It's ludicrous. Like the man is a goal machine from left back, and on the other wing, you know, Rasmus Christensen kind of holds it down at right back and is less kind of attacking. But Skov Olsen's been playing in front of him. He's having a good season at Club Bruges. He scored 5 in qualifying as well. The only question mark I think about the Danes is who scores the goals up top.
Yeah, no,
it's going to be Kasper Dolberg, I think, that starts the tournament. Now, he's a player that's always had potential. He's had good spells in his career. That first bit at Ajax was excellent. His first season in France was pretty sharp, but he's gone to Sevilla now and he tends to be warming the bench. I have a feeling that he steps up in this tournament for Denmark. You know, just gets the service that you could imagine from these players around him, and I think he's gonna have a good tournament. And I'm with you, Amir. I think Denmark top the group.
They need a John Todd Thomason, don't they? Getting back out of retirement.
Yeah.
Player he was.
Fish him out.
Yeah, he's probably mid-40s now. He'd be fine. Nubaid, before we jump on to Group B with yourself, is there any hope for Australia or Tunisia?
I've got them both squabbling for bottom spot. I feel third isn't even a question in this group. I've got first, second, and fourth. There's no third in this group. To be fair, I also went with Denmark top and France second, but then we're going to get onto this, but then it absolutely wrecks your predictions after, because it just throws everything all over.
Suddenly Denmark are in the final.
Yeah. Literally. But yeah, no, from my angle, no hope for Tunisia or Australia. I watched Australia's last game and I absolutely hated what I watched. So.
They're dreadful, yeah. Tunisia are a bit better. Tunisia will part the bus and try and score from set pieces, but I don't think it's going to be enough against the big two. I think they come third.
Australia try and play football, and they don't have players to play football. And at least Tunisia know their level, and I mean that respectfully.
Very much that Simpsons. At least you tried, kind of mean with Australia. They'll give it a go. I mean, it's weird. I mean, once again, looking at the team Australia, and I feel this is one of the things where I totally admit my knowledge is very Premier League centric, and the names are just not recognisable, which feels weird. You know, if you're more of a casual, I can hold my hands up. Hence why you guys are here. Like it used to be, I know everyone in the Australian team, and it just isn't the case anymore. You know, and there's a lot of obviously A leaguers, you know, involved. Obviously, everyone knows Redmayne now. You know, for the icon that he is these days. But
Hristic is a good player, Stephen. He plays for Hellas Verona as a sort of attacking midfielder, winger kind of type. He's a good player.
There you go. As Jack just said, he's a good player. So I'll take his word on that. Not mine.
Just tweet him out. Just tweet that statement out, and
I'm gonna take various things all of you said and tweet me over the next 2 weeks. You won't remember because you're all too busy. On to Group E. This is a spicy group as well, Nubaid. I mean, there's a potential for upsets here. I swear I read something like I can't remember the exact stat, but famously World Cup winners have a habit of going out almost immediately. You know, the following tournament. And Spain and Germany have both kind of teams who might not be necessarily the World Cup, but it may be the following Euros or vice versa, or whatever. But they both had disasters in recent tournaments at times, and I wouldn't say they're both either with their they're not with the greatest side they've ever had either, are they? You know, they're maybe all lacking in certain areas. But having said that, they obviously are both the favourites to go through. Japan, though, could cause an upset. In Costa Rica, they're wily and experienced. Joe Campbell, I remember him because I always remember because I used to think he'd be world class at one point. He wasn't, obviously. But how are you thinking about this group, Nubaid, and what are you expecting for both the big boys in this group?
Well, Joel Campbell, firstly, is a tournament player, man.
Isn't he
What
just?
a boy.
I love
He's going
him,
to turn
by
up,
the way.
man. I was doing some research on Costa Rica, and literally, like, every article said Joel Campbell's still their main man. And I was like, it's been like 20 years. I feel like this guy's
Do you
been
remember
playing
when he
since
was a
I was
prospect
born.
under Wenger? Like, I
Yeah,
remember thinking,
he was at
quality,
Arsenal.
Yeah.
Then he went to Olympiacos. But in terms of the big two, I've backed Germany to go far. I've spoken about this at length with many people. I also really like Spain's squad. I don't think the Spain, because we're so used to Spain having 11 world-class players and dominating teams and dominating games. I think out of all the coaches, the two coaches that have the most tactical flexibility in the World Cup are Hansi Flick and Enrique.
Yeah,
And I think that'll be very handy in the World Cup because I feel in the World Cup, when you get there, managers don't really go toe-to-toe and they only do later on in the stage. It's kind of like you saw in the Euros when Southgate took on Mancini. Mancini was just more tactically fluid and that kind of won Mancini the game. And I think when it comes to World Cup, you come to those occasions during a knockout. So I think if Germany can get past Costa Rica and Japan, and I think Japan will be exciting to watch. I think they'll quickly become everyone's like favourites. You know, you're kind of like, was it Denmark at the last tournament? Obviously because of the whole Ericsson stuff. I think that'll happen with Japan this time round. And I do like Spain. I think they've got a lot of wild cards in their side. I think the midfield options are insanely good, although as if you didn't take Thiago. That's an unpopular opinion.
Controversial.
But yeah, no, I do like the big two in this group. I think that'll be one of the best games in the tournament, Spain against Germany, in certainly the group stages. And then Japan and Costa Rica. I've got Japan third, but I think Japan will cause an upset. But it's very annoying because obviously when you try and predict an upset, if you predict Japan to win one game,
I know what you mean,
yeah, it throws the whole table off. So you're kind of like, yeah, maybe the upset is just a 1-1 draw. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I found it the other day. I tried to pick an upset and I realised, oh, that hasn't going through actually. So it doesn't kind of work.
Yeah, just one result switches the whole.
Yeah,
you just go through.
A win and a
basically.
draw, and you're probably through, aren't you? That's the thing. So it's that close. Quickly, Jack and Umir. Jack, yourself first. What's the order of this group?
I'm going Spain, Germany, Japan, Costa Rica. Here's one. I don't think Costa Rica score a goal.
Oh, how dare you
Horrible
do Joe
team.
Campbell like that?
Well, actually, the player I'm more concerned about is Jewison Burnett, who plays for Sunderland, who's actually very, very good. But I just think that this group is too good, and Costa Rica are right at the end of a cycle.
Yeah.
I'm struggling with seeing them score.
Okay, Umir.
Yeah, I probably echo that opinion. I really like Spain in the Euros. I thought they were the best team in the Euros. And probably should have won the whole competition. They do lack a bit of firepower and things like that in terms of names, but the way that they all like hunt to win the ball back as soon as they lose it, the way that their team set up and the shape around the ball, like they dominate the game really, really well. And I think Germany have a lot of good players and an incredible manager as well, but sort of on the flanks they're a little bit weaker in terms of fullbacks or wingbacks.
Yeah.
So teams could possibly get at them attacking down the sides. I would have Spain first, Germany second, probably Japan third, and then Costa Rica last.
Okay, Jack. I know you have some spicy Group F takes. Take them away.
Morocco are going to win this group.
I love that.
Very spicy.
I like that a lot.
That's a Vindaloo take. That's very, very spicy. My friend.
I
Go on,
really like this
elaborate.
Morocco side. I'm really hot on them. Like I've got. It's gone further and further towards the tournament, and the hotter and hotter I've got on this Morocco team. And actually, when you look at the side, you know, the wing backs are Mazraoui and Hakimi, Roman Saiss and Naif Agad, who was signed by West Ham for 30 million.
I love
and some
Naif
other-
Agad.
It's quality.
They're the
You're
two
right,
centre
they're quality
backs.
players, aren't they? So
Amrabat holds down the middle, good player. And then you go wide, and it's obviously Hakim Ziyech on one side, Sofiane Boufal on the other, and En-Nesyri for Sevilla. Sevilla have the top and the bottom here. They have En-Nesyri up top and Bono in goal. I really, really like this Morocco team.
Side, yeah.
You know what? The only thing that's kind of taken the ice off the top of this take, I suppose, is that Amine Harit got injured, obviously, last week. And I think that's a big blow for them. They play with like twin eights in the old Pep Guardiola twin eight system, as you'll know. Stephen. But I really like they have Anahi on one side, they had Harriet on the other, and they were bombing forward, having a great time.
They
Really
called
just
up.
like this side
They called up Zarori
from Burnley.
from Burnley.
Yeah.
And I think Belgium and Morocco were both sort of battling for who he'd represent. But he's a player who I've only caught him on sort of 2 or 3 occasions, but he's really an impressive sort of. He's a winger, but he reminds me of like almost a Grealish type, but with a bit of burst about him. And obviously he plays in that same system that Kompany plays, which is sort of like a offshoot of what Guardiola plays. And if you're mentioning sort of a twin eight system with wingers, I don't know how many minutes he'll get, but if he does sort of appear, like just generally, that's a really balanced side, especially with him replacing Harrow, who obviously is a great player, and it's sad to see him out in general. But I hadn't paid attention to Morocco as a threat until now. You've gone through the teams. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking that is actually
They're a serious team.
yeah. Maybe I've underrated them.
Yeah.
They were
They've also
very
got
good. They were very good at AFCON, right? They were very impressive. They got knocked out, I think, by Cameroon in the quarters, which maybe made it look a little bit like it wasn't a great tournament for them. But through the groups, they were probably the best side to watch. They've won some impressive games since then. I just really like them as a side, and I think that you look at Croatia, who are sort of halfway between bringing through the new generation, Guardiola and the like, and then kind of the old still kicking around. They're a bit stuck between stations. I still think they probably get through. I'm worried about Belgium, really worried about them, because I think that if it's not a De Bruyne masterclass, Belgium are in trouble. Now it might be,
isn't it? And they're going to start. They're not playing well at all, are they?
It might be a De Bruyne masterclass. He might literally drag them kicking and screaming through the group stages. If anyone can,
as per usual,
De Bruyne can, right? But if he doesn't have the tournament of his life, I'm worried about Belgium.
They'll still go through, surely, though, with the Nubaid, right? You'd expect them to, because I mean, do you have also? Actually, sorry, I'll add another way to that, because Canada had so much energy in the qualifying, and that they were, a big story over in the Americas. I mean, they would have to obviously do something to Belgium for them to not go through, surely. Maybe Croatia would as well, but Belgium, Canada, how are you feeling about those two?
I'm very low on Croatia, so they're out of my thinking. I'm high on Morocco. They've also got Ines Chair, who I really like, although he doesn't get much of a game time. Belgium don't have a striker still. I know they've got Lukaku, but he's so out of form. They've got Batshuayi, who, for whatever reason, like I was looking at the odds. I'm not a gambler, but looking at the odds, and he was like 12-1 to win the Golden Boot for the tournament. And I was like, brother, Michi Batshuayi, you crazy?
I actually, he's
do?
one of the guys who I've
Stop it, mate.
adopted.
I'll stop it right there.
I've adopted in my Twitter career. No, I'm not saying he's going to be top scorer, but in my Twitter career, I've all these like players who nobody rates. Who I'm like, I rate that guy. Batshuayi is one of those who, for whatever reason, he's been added to that list years ago.
You can easily grab a couple of braces and all. All of a sudden you need one more goal and you're top goal scorer. That's how.
But I just think in this group, I don't know. Like, I don't see Belgium spanking anyone, so I don't see Batshuayi scoring a load of goals. I think Canada. There's like in my opinion, a feeling that Canada are going to be like the side they get battered, but I think that's probably not going to happen. I actually think they're one of the best Americans. I don't think they're better than USA, and I think a lot of people are high on USA because they've got players who play in the Premier League, whereas I think the lack of knowledge around Canada makes people feel like they're not a good side, but I think they will cause problems. The one thing I was looking at, which was really interesting to me, it was a really random article that someone wrote, but he's basically talking about how Canada tend to win a lot of games at home because of the weather, and when they play in heat, they really struggle. Now, I think that's complete BS, but when I read it, I was like, sometimes you can't argue with certain things. It was like 7 wins in 11 at home, and it was like 6 losses out of 6 in temperatures over 25 degrees. Then I looked at the weather in Qatar in December, and it's like 28 degrees. Yeah. So I was like, hey, they've got a problem here.
Football's mad, There's so many like factors. Like you can just look at what the team shape and the players, and then there'll be something like that where it will actually genuinely have a.
It's like when everyone loses in Bolivia, right? Because to La Paz, that is 2 hours. Yeah, the altitude.
Qatar are going to win the whole thing then, based off this. I think to quickly around the table, who's going through? Who's going through from this group? Just the 1 and 2, Jack.
Morocco and Belgium, I think.
Debate.
Belgium, Morocco.
You may.
Croatia and Belgium.
I would probably agree, maybe. Anyway, Group G.
I like Croatia.
So do I. I like
The
Brozovic.
most.
Yeah.
Is this a good Brazil side? Is this a wonderful Brazil side? Because they're currently favourites. Neymar's probably in the form of his, well, not of his career, maybe, because he's maybe been better. But right now, he's possibly the best player in Europe. Neymar has been wonderful. It's a very, very, very good Brazil side. They are favourites, I think, actually, for the tournament. The preparation looks pretty decent as well. Beat Tunisia 5-1 recently. I'm looking at the lineup he played that day: Casemiro, Fred, Neymar, Paqueta, Rafinha, Richarlison, Silva, Marquinhos, Danilo, Telles. Dani Alves is still there as well at the ripe old age of 39. How are you feeling about this Brazilian side, Amir?
Yeah, I have them going to the finals. Actually, it depends on the bracket and if they play Argentina before that. But Brazil are a phenomenal side, and I think they're the only side ever to be in every World Cup or appear in every World Cup. There's a significant heritage and a cohesion within the Brazilian cohort. I actually read something that's basically said, out of all of the national teams, I think there were only 4 or 5 national teams where every player selected was born and represented the country. As in, like, for France, obviously you have French players representing some of the African nations and things like that. But for Brazil, every Brazilian in the tournament was playing for Brazil. And I just think there's a real sense of culture and community and relationship and good vibes going into the tournament with that side. And I think that matters a lot in terms of international football and things like that. And it's almost like the Neymar tournament or the Neymar versus Messi tournament. And I really like that it's been branded like that. I think it gives an extra sort of narrative and a layer to it. I think Brazil have a good defense. They have a really good span in terms of Casemiro. The only weakness is possibly certain areas of their defense. But when you have Vinicius, Richarlison down the middle, who's been in excellent international form, Neymar basically the hub and the creative mind of the team, and then so many options on the flank. And then they also have like someone like Pedro G from the Brazilian league who can come off the bench and provide a different sort of attacking angle. So they're an incredible team. For me, definitely finishing top of the group and making a significant run, if not winning the entire thing.
Jack, I think we all probably agree that Brazil. I don't know you actually. We all think
I do agree. Yeah.
Who's picking up the pieces then after that?
I think it's wow. This is the thing. Cameroon are a very, very direct side. They had a good AFCON at home, but I just think that Serbia and Switzerland, they're like the two opposite ends of the spectrum. Switzerland are incredibly dull and win tournament games. Serbia are loads of fun and also are partial to an implode. I think Serbia have become a bit of a dark horse team for a lot of people. And Sam Tai tweeted, he said that he's worried that Serbia is starting to pick up that Turkey energy at the last Euros.
I think so, a little
bit. I do really like this Serbia side, and it's not just because Alexander Mitrovic leads the line.
But leads the line as well. So.
Well, this is it. It's Mitrovic, Vlahovic, and Jovic. Yeah, I am a full of fan, for my sins in a previous live season. But it's one of those where I've loved watching the Serbia side play. I thought they were brilliant in qualification. Obviously got the win over Portugal in the last minute to secure their spot here. And I think that a lot of people are going to fall in love with how they play. Now, Milinkovic-Savic is having himself a season in Serie A. I think you look at the attacking riches that the side have to offer. This is where you could get a couple of like 4-3s. Yeah. Right, this is Serbia on that side. And I think that means a lot of people are going to like them. But I do wonder if Switzerland's kind of cold, steely, we win games 1-0 demeanor is going to be a problem. I'm going to edge it to the Serbians, but I think if Switzerland get through the group, they're going to be an absolute nightmare for anybody that they play, in the same way that they were for France, obviously, in the last Euros. But yeah, I'm going to just edge it to Serbia. I think there's a lot of passion and fire, and also there's history between these two teams after what happened at the last World Cup, of course. So I think Switzerland edged that one. I think Serbia edged this.
Nubaid, I'm going to you for Group H. Talk of attacking riches there, of course, but then you can't really avoid the Ronaldo issue for Portugal. A man who many would say correctly that he's way past his best, and he's not scoring a lot of goals. I think I saw a stat where he's taken something like 25 shots without scoring in the group, in the knockout stages, something like that. In the World Cup, and is it the World Cup? It might be international competitions, but either way, he's not in great form. And obviously, when you've got a guy who's that big, he hangs over the whole squad because he's Cristiano Ronaldo. Where do you stand on the Ronaldo? Whatever it is, mess
saga.
Yeah, the thing.
Saga,
the Ronaldo saga. What did he call himself? Was it an attractive strawberry or something yesterday?
Yeah, an appetite fruit.
There we go. There we go. Should he be in this team? Is he at the detriment of Portugal a good side?
Just very, very quick caveat. I'm devastated I didn't get to give any props to GX10 at Switzerland, but we'll move on from that.
Go for it. Quickly go for it if you want to. I was just trying to be...
Granit Xhaka, that's all I want to say.
Xhaka,
My boy.
I love Xhaka.
The soldier of fortune. Come on, Granit Xhaka in Switzerland. Anyway. Portugal, Ghana, Uruguay, Korea. I really like this group, but obviously the question's on Portugal. Do I think the Ronaldo thing affects this Portugal side? Possibly. I think there's some characters in there that maybe don't want as much limelight as Ronaldo does around this tournament. You're already seeing clips of like handshakes with Bruno Fernandes and other characters, and then João Marais having to answer questions on behalf of Ronaldo and Bruno. So that can't be healthy in a tournament. But I feel Ronaldo runs this team and has for so long. What he says sort of goes, and we've seen that in not only in what he says, but also in what he does. Obviously, if you remember the Euros where he decided to manage the team off the bench and the gaffer can't say anything. I mean, if you've got a character like that in your dressing room, you just kind of go, big man, this is your team. I'll just take the back seat, which is basically what happened.
I hope he uses those exact words as well, by the way.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear what that means, what that translates to in Portuguese.
Yeah. Do it right now.
So yeah, I don't know how I feel about the Ronaldo issue. Are Portugal a good side? I think they're a good side. They're just managed by the wrong man. They have, in my opinion, I could be slightly wrong here, but I think they've probably got the best midfield depth and options in the whole World Cup in terms of the players that they've got and how many different variations. Go on, Steve, what are you going to say?
Grande Hammam, which is big man. Anyway, go on. By the way, feel free to go into the group as well, because obviously you go for it.
Yeah, I think midfield-wise, they've got a load of options. I just don't back the manager, I think, for a long time. And I think I've seen Jack's tweets on him as well. I just don't think he's the guy for Portugal. I think they could do with a much more tactically flexible manager. And that'll probably help them do better as well. And then the side I'm backing big time is Uruguay, for a number of reasons. One, because
the quality.
Darwin Nunez, top scorer. But I think that they create a lot of chances, which is a really big thing in the World Cup, because when you come up against teams like Korea and Ghana and Portugal, some of these games get decided by moments.
Yeah.
And we've spoken in length about why England need Maddison and so on and so forth. I think Uruguay have a lot of players that play in moments. So I think they'll escape the group along with Portugal. I've got Uruguay. I think it's first, Portugal second. I think it's in that order. I think Korea, I feel for them because in a similar vein to Senegal, their main man's injured. I know it's a fractured eye and people don't take it as seriously, but he was going to get picked even if he had a fractured tibia. Yeah. So he's there and he's going to have to perform. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with this group.
Let's skip the groups now, because obviously we've been going for a while. Let's go straight to I'm going to go round you. I just want some wild predictions. Not wild, just honest predictions. Jack, who reaches the final?
I have it as Argentina, Germany. Okay. Despite the fact that I have Germany coming second in their group, I think the way that my bracket's fallen out means that one of the sides of the draw is far softer than the other. The way that it shakes out, if everything goes to plan. I mean, obviously nothing's going to go to plan. So I imagine my bracket's going to be thrown out the window by week one. But alas, in the way it's kind of shaken out, I have it as an Argentina-Germany final, and I think they get that revenge for 2014. I think that would be nice.
Okay, Umir, final for you.
I think. So I'm not sure how the brackets line up. So
you can't have a Brazil-Argentina final. That's what you can't have.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay, if you don't, I don't know either, so I've not looked into too much detail. But if you want to just go who you think's going to win it, go for it, man.
I think Argentina win it. I think the two best teams are Argentina or Brazil, so either one of those two. And I think, obviously, if that can't be a final, I think the final, Argentina versus Spain, would be something that, I don't know. I think it's relatively likely. And I don't know. I'd be really excited to see that. I think that they're quite different teams, but yeah, just that extra narrative of Argentina, Messi, and Spain. Like, I'd really like to see that as a final.
I quite like the idea of Messi winning the World Cup, and obviously I want England to do it, whatever. But I don't know. I just feel like Messi, he sort of deserves it. Weirdly, I think
football owes him one. It feels.
Yeah,
it's weird to say that's who deserves it. He's won that many Ballon d'Ors, and he's probably widely regarded as the best of all time anyway. But I do feel like people unfairly put a lot of pressure on him, in terms of the World
I think
Cup
they do
stuff.
in Argentina, Stephen.
Yeah,
like,
it's-
I
it's
think the
mad.
fact that it's maybe the only place in the world where he's not regarded as the greatest player of all time.
Yeah.
Brazil as
Yeah.
well, but like the only place he's not regarded is in his own homeland because they're like, no, it's Diego Maradona because he won us the World Cup, and you're like,
But
okay,
Maradona
right, can we
actually has a
stop that?
genuine shout though. Like
Yeah,
Maradona.
100%. No, 100%. But like, it's a bit of a mad thing to think about to be like,
Yeah, like
oh,
everybody
he's so
else.
respected around the world, and then at home they're like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
you're our second best little number 10 ever. Thanks very much.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we've already had one of those, Messi. You know what I mean? We'll see. Nubaid, who's reaching the final for you, man?
I mapped it out, and as I say, like once I put France second, everything just went everywhere. I've landed with Uruguay and Argentina in the final, but I don't even know if I don't even think that's gonna happen.
Heritage of that.
That would be amazing though.
Yeah, it would
It
be.
would be. It would
That'd
be.
be violent, by the way. That would get aggressive, I reckon.
Yeah.
I don't know why, I can just see it exploding.
I think for that game alone, they should bring in one of the Copa America referees in, because a European referee or a World Cup referee can't
4
handle
red
that game.
cards. Yeah.
Yeah. I also, just on that as well, Portugal and Argentina could play each other in the final, and I would love to see Ronaldo against Messi, even though everything's going on with Ronaldo. I feel that'll be.
Narrative.
I would love if that was the final and both of them retired immediately after the game. Give me a Marvel ending.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've gone for Argentina to win it. By the way, I think they'll do it. I think this is the most settled Argentine team for an awful long time, and I think they know who they are. And I kind of sort of, after England, I sort of hope they do. Emotionally, I'm drawn towards KDB and Belgium for obvious reasons. Quickly,
Whoever
for you
wins that
guys-
semi, it feels like, doesn't it?
Sorry?
If Brazil and Argentina meet in a semi, it feels like that's the final.
Yeah.
Whoever
Yeah.
whoever
It's
sees
annoying
through
that
that
they
final
can't
just
meet the
wins
final.
it. Yeah, exactly.
What about like standouts in terms of like top goal scorer and top player, Jack? I go for Musiala, by the way. Personally, I think he's going to be fucking brilliant for Germany. But
I agree. I think, but I fancy him to win Young Player of the tournament.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna leave it at that. But I do like Lautaro. If Messi's in this full creator mode, right? Like if he's in this kind of, as you say, creative playmaker phase of his career, who's the person benefiting? And I think the person benefiting is Lautaro Martinez.
Yeah.
And then you go to that, it's
Yeah.
quite hard to look, and especially if we've, 4 of us have picked Argentina to win it. Like if we're looking at that, then it kind of goes without saying that it might be. But I did see an interesting shout that, what if Thomas Muller got the all-time record by scoring 7 in this tournament? But I think that there's an interesting case to be like, obviously the last time anyone scored 9+ goals at a tournament was like 1970. Gerd Muller got 10.
Mm-mm.
I think the top goal scorer might get an absolute ton in this tournament.
Really?
Yeah, I have a funny feeling that in the groups, like there's going to be loads of really cagey groups. And I think there's going to be a couple of groups that are just blown wide open. Like, could Memphis Depay score 6 goals in the group stage? He might. Like, it's not that weird a shout. Like, and if you score 6 goals in the group stage, you might just win the Golden Boot. Like that's where we're
yeah,
at.
I think
Yeah, imagine that he goes out in the group stages and still wins Golden Boot or something.
Yeah,
Those things
exactly.
happen,
Yeah.
Debate.
So-
What about like top goal scorer for you?
I've gone with Darwin Nunez. Genuinely, no bias
I don't
attached. I
think
just
that's
think
biased. I get it, to be honest. Even
Yeah,
saying that. Yeah.
I'm leaning towards him as well. for
I
some
think
reason.
it's just as Jack just said there. I looked at like the number of goals it takes to win the Golden Boot, typically in a World Cup, and the average is like 6.5. Obviously, you can't get 0.5 of a goal. But I'm looking at that group
He's
and I'm
find
going,
away Nunes, I reckon, actually. Somehow.
yeah. They play Ghana and Korea. I think one of those games will be open, and obviously the game against Portugal will be open. There is a chance he scores 4 in the group stage. Then he might only need 1 or 2 more, which he's very capable of doing.
Yeah.
So I'll go Darwin Nunez purely because the man is unpredictable.
Umir?
So the names that are floating around my head, obviously Darwin, Harry Kane, Depay. I don't want to pick someone that pick someone that everyone
Just
else
say
is
Sterling
picked.
and be done with it. You know you want to.
I really do. Do you know what? No. Even I can't back that this tournament. I said Mbappe in like when I spoke to Nubaid, but that's like now that I've been reflecting on it, I don't back France to be super balanced and.
But they do have Australia and Tunisia in the group.
Yeah.
Same thing, right? Could he get 5 goals again in those 2 games? I wouldn't bet against it.
Yeah, or if Benzema is the starter, he could do the same. So,
Yeah.
just for the sake of continuity, I'll go Mbappe again, reluctantly. But I will put a shout for Memphis Depay and Darwin Nunez as well.
I'm going to be boring and just say I can imagine Argentina and Messi scoring a hat-trick against Saudi Arabia and then 1 or 2, in the other games. I can just see it. I can see it potentially
Yeah.
happening. Player of the tournament for me is going to be Messi. Jack, yourself? Because by the way, that's just emotionally. Even if he isn't the best player, if Argentina win the World Cup,
Yeah.
Messi plays well,
Yeah,
he wins player
he'll
of the
get
tournament.
it.
It's as simple as that.
Also, it's a photo op, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
like,
If
they're
he
obviously not
shoots
going
it,
to
yeah.
pass that up.
Just
But
give
even
it
if
to,
he
I
finishes
don't know,
second, if he
Otamendi or
finishes
something,
second,
yeah.
like he did in
Yeah.
the other tournament,
Yeah.
they'll just give it him as a consolation.
Yeah.
What about the biggest flop of this tournament? And then we'll kind of end it after that, I reckon. But the biggest, who's going to be like the, oh my god, why the fuck did you be bothered turning up kind of team? You know, like who's going to, maybe it can be a one high expectations that failed. Nubaid, what do you reckon?
I'm going to go with France because if they finish second, if I'm not wrong, they play Argentina next. I could be wrong. Argentina or Germany, they've got someone really difficult in the next round. So I think they'll go out in that round because I think that midfield stinks. So yeah, probably France. I think in terms of like stinking it up, like Tunisia ain't going to score a goal, putting it out there. I think there'll be more than one team that don't score a goal in this tournament.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout.
Yeah, definitely with humidity as well, that kind of stuff there. Jack, who's going to be the big flop?
Well, I think Portugal are going to struggle, and I hate saying that because I really like Portugal, and my girlfriend's Portuguese, so she's going to be watching this going absolutely mental. But yeah, exactly. But I just don't like this side under Fernando Sanchez. I think they're too over reliant on Ronaldo, who hasn't been in form. And I worry unless he plays Rafael Leao, and I don't think he's going to because I think he's a bit of a coward. I think basically that he's going to really struggle for players who are going to light it up. And look, I'd love Bernardo to do well. Like I love Bernardo Silva so much, and I'd really, really like him to light up this tournament. But I don't think he's going to be given that opportunity to shine. And I think that Portugal are going to struggle. I reckon they might get knocked out in the round of 16.
Okay, Umir?
Yeah, I think both of those are very fair shouts. I'm just going through now. Possibly the USA, but I don't think people have them that highly rated in the first place.
No.
So I don't know. I'll probably piggyback on the Portugal shout. Santos did say though that Bernardo for him is like a top 10 player in the world, which I completely agree with.
Yeah. He'll definitely play him. He's just not giving him the time to shine because
I
everything
think
has to go through the middle.
Yeah, I think they should just run everything through Bernardo Silva and then have Leao running off him, and then possibly shift Bruno out to the right, like Ten Hag's been doing. I think that gives you more balance in general. The thing is, Portugal have such a good team. I think they have one of the best actual set of players in the entire tournament. But I agree with you in that, obviously with the Ronaldo saga and then with how sort of bland their midfield pivot selections have been. Yeah, I worry for them in general.
That's last thing, genuinely last thing, nice and brief. Where do England go out, Jack?
Depends. If they don't win the group, as I've just predicted, I think they go out in the round of 16.
Okay. Nubaid?
I think I've got them getting to the semi-final.
Semi-final, nice.
Yeah, but I don't want to. Just clarify, I don't think that's going to happen, but because of the way the draw is happening, it's ending there.
Any hope for England?
Yeah, they have Sterling. I genuinely think like England are incredibly confusing to predict this tournament. I think it depends if they go for a 5-back, if they go for a 4-back, if they play Calvin Phillips, if Walker gets fit in time. So they're incredibly difficult to predict. I think on the bracket,
I'm just hearing Man City players, by the way.
Yeah.
Best team in the world, fella.
This side of the channel, as you can see right now, this is the sensible side.
The thing is, I think they might draw Denmark. They possibly draw Denmark, which is like a difficult fixture.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we have a really good set piece threat. Sterling on the counter attack against Denmark in the Euros was one of my favorite international performances ever. I think he completed the most dribbles in a single game of that tournament. I think he did like 10 or something. He won the penalty. He won the penalties. And yeah, so quarterfinal, semi-final, I think, if I'm being optimistic, and then Spain probably go ahead past them.
England are good at tournament football, aren't they? Like they do win.
Yeah,
they win a lot of games 1-0. Like this is the thing. Like I wouldn't be surprised if England got to the final or got knocked out in the group stages.
We all love Denmark, and everyone hates England. You know, what I mean, England.
Denmark's fun, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyway, we'll leave it there because we've been waffling off for a while. Jack, thank you so much for coming on, Nubaid as well, and Umir. I'll put all the social channels and all the usual stuff in the link in the description below. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this big World Cup 2020 preview. I feel nourished and knowledge, if that's even a word. It's been very, very useful. And hopefully I'll get one or two of these guys back on as well during the tournament. Hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe and all the usual stuff. And let me know down in the comments your predictions. Go big it. Let me know who's going to win it, your top goal scorer, your player of the tournament, and who's going to stink it out and all the usual stuff. Anyway, thanks for watching. Catch you all later. Thank you very much, guys. Bye-bye.